All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining on our September 24th Hub Captains meeting. And we're going to go do a slow start here, but we've got a lot of information. I am not going to bring the agenda up on the screen because we're looking at each other more, but I have three places that I'll bring up some files. And so we'll save around the room for when we do, or introductions when we do around the room. And then, as always, is there someone who would be willing to take minutes tonight? Okay,
Can't hear you.
Gabrielle caught my attention. Thank you very much. She's gotten really good at this. I mean, I practically don't even log off before I have minutes. So I got all sorts of interesting stuff. The first one we want to talk about is the Seattle Fire Department had its windshield exercise that we, of course, we're going to plan our big drill around. Oops, lean forward, elbows planted. And that we were not able to do a in-person exercise because of COVID. And we weren't even sure if we were going to be able to participate. We did hear that ACS has participated. And then a week ago, I got an email from the current liaison to the EOC Fire Department who said, because we've built a relationship, we're willing to let you see
right over there.
battalion headquarters.
You're breaking up.
Okay. I am on my closest, my regular computer's in sick bay. I'm on the closest internet. It's 5 bars, and I'll try not to move.
Do you have any other programs that are running? I found if I shut down my email and all that other stuff that it improves.
I could shut down email, maybe, but the only other things I have up are the programs I'm going to share files from.
Just things that require bandwidth on your internet connection, that's all.
Well, it gets worse because Ron's got a meeting at 7:30. So
it seems like it's the microphone. It doesn't seem like it's bandwidth. It seems like it's the microphone cutting in and out. But when you got closer just now, it got really clear.
Okay, well, I'm going to put my nose right on the screen and try and read my... Okay. So, Fire Department exercise, I got invited as a trusted partner, even though I did kind of can I get someone in another battalion headquarters? They were like, no, we're a high-risk group of people, and so let's just keep it to you. And then I didn't get confirmation on it until Tuesday. So yesterday, I was able to go into the fire department, and I did not get to hear the radio traffic from the ACS team, so we'll let them talk about that. But what I was able to watch was what the internal assignment pattern is within the fire department. So let's let ACS go first. And I saw that Dave Wilma was on, and I don't see Carl on. So I'm going to throw it to Dave Wilma to talk about what they did to generate the injects for the fire department.
Hi, this is Dave. I had to switch to my phone because my internet is wonky and somebody else is on a meeting here too. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes.
All right. Okay, I'm just gonna have to use this like a phone. Okay, for the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week, ACS was doing an exercise with Seattle Fire Department in which Seattle Fire gave us some injects to be transmitted from the field, which was ACS operators from home, into the EOC, which would then be transcribed and then handed off to the staff duty officer, who would then transmit the message to the fire department. Now, this seems like not particularly efficient, but we're just testing it's a proof of concept kind of idea. And it went very well. The operators transmitted the messages by voice, transcribed them to the ICS 213, which you all are very familiar with. And the takeaways is that the fire department is interested in 4 elements of information in a message. The first one is location, as close as an address or an intersection that you can provide. The second is the condition. What is the issue? Is it a house burning? It is a sinkhole? Is it a car on the railroad tracks? What is the condition? The third element, are there any injuries, what they are, if they are known? And the fourth condition are, what are the needs? Medical personnel, rescue personnel, fire personnel, that sort of thing. Those four elements are what they are looking for. So if you are going to prepare a communication for the fire department, that's what they are going to be looking for. In terms of exactly how you do that, it's how we've been drilling. The hubs would forward to Seattle ACS the best way possible, which would get them to the EOC, which would then funnel it to the fire department. But that's pretty much it. It involves skills that we haven't used in a while. So it took a little while before the operators got into the swing of things, but it generally performed well, and the fire department was pleased with what they saw. So did you copy all that?
Yes, that was very loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Did you guys get to participate in their hot wash?
We haven't done a hot wash yet. We've been kind of privately exchanging information, but we have one more session of it tomorrow morning, and we'll do that after that.
Okay. All right. So what I observed was I am going to share my desktop because I put together a report. So somebody let me know when it comes up.
Sure.
Okay. So this is about page 4. Good. So I've got a whole bunch of, as you can see, it was a lot of stuff. I've captured the process that they use, which is really good for us to know, because as we talk to people doing our education, it expands what we already understood about the windshield survey. And I'm not going to go in through this tonight because this is going to be the next deep dive. It's worth that time to spend on it. And then I did the usual tracking of the start of the exercise. And where I paused, you can see that the first company reporting was so hyped up, the scribe couldn't keep up, just like all our exercises. So I was very encouraged that, we're all humans and we're all going to do it the same way. I had some questions, but really what I wanted to show tonight, and I got to sit in on their immediate hot wash of that day. So Dave's right, they haven't had their, how did all the days play out? But I was able to capture what they were doing first. So the pictures I want to show you are, they have a visual. This first one is, it's going to be what we deep dive a little bit. I'll walk you through the steps that they go through to capture, transfer the information to a visual system, and then how the battalion chief in each area will make their own independent decisions. So the biggest thing we learn is earthquake will automatically separate the city into battalion control. They told us that, but that's what they actually practiced. And then just like the picture showed, this was inside Battalion 7, and this is what is basically, Battalion 7 is most of the Duwamish, or the West Seattle Peninsula and South Park, and a little bit into Harbor Island. He was acting as net control. He was calling all the different pieces of equipment and saying, report your top 3 items. Next equipment, ladder truck, report your next items. So this guy was the scribe. So while they were both listening to the message, he was purely functionally writing it. He would put it up here on the ledge. Over here is the map. I'll show you that picture. It was mapped, and then it moved over to an interim assessment board where they marked it up for, they were doing their priority assessments. And then this board that they're standing in front of is where they actually were putting their highest priorities and getting ready to assign them to specific companies once they returned from their windshield surveys. And they had stuff up there within the first 10 minutes of the exercise, but at 20 minutes, they had stuff over here on the priority board. So I was really encouraged to know that if they do their windshield survey and they're getting the information in the kind of battle rhythm that they practice, they'll start getting their hands around what's going on locally. This is a picture of the giant map, and of course this shows just Battalion 7. They had these pre-staged spikes for Battalion 7, and on each of these they were supposed to write the incident number so that they had a cross-reference between the little card that goes up that captures what Dave talked about and where is it physically. And then this was the second place that the cards ended up, where they went Engine 11 reported this information, and they were reading each of these and deciding where did they need to go on the next board. So this battalion had 8 pieces of equipment out. This group, Ladder 11 and Engine 32 were doing double duty because the battalion chief held back one company to help her in the station, which was interesting because it was like, oh yeah, you've got a station that won't be able to work if they're trying to run the battalion headquarters, which might be a role for ACS or a future CERT type role. So that's one of the things I've got for discussion. This is what happened when they moved it over to the priority boards. So she was asked by the downtown coordinating center to read her first 5 into them. When they have a rhythm, just like we do, you know, where you'll be asked to provide your input in at a certain point and they'll pass messages at a certain point from ACS. She had the same thing. She was told, in 5 minutes, Battalion 5, you'll be asked to provide your top 5 priorities. So she grouped those, read them, and once she wrote them, once she transmitted them, she marked them in this box with a yellow X to show it has been sent to downtown. And this group here, she's getting ready for her next transmission group. She's got 4 of the 5 that she's thinking to send. So there's a level 1, level 2, and there's a level 3 below that. That sort of is shown better over here. And then this is where she also color-coded. Pink was for fire. I can't read it. Something was collapse, and yellow was like low priority, no injuries reported, or no fire reported sort of thing. And this was one of my favorite pictures. This is the fire battalion's earthquake supply stash. And it looks just like ours. It's their forms, it's color coding and felt tip pens, and it's erasers, and it's Post-its. You can't see the Post-its in there. But that is the entirety of the forms that they use. And this is what David was talking about. This bottom part is what the card is. So they're all pre-numbered B, and then they would have put a 7 in for battalion, and then the map guy, as he posts them on, assigns a number. This is the condition information. Over here, this is one of the things we'll want to work out. Casualties to them mean victims, not dead casualties. And it's another visual clue. So you would write 300 in this box if it's more than 10. So they had a way to, it's 1 to 2, it's over here. If it's 5 to 9, write the number in this box. So the battalion chief can quickly look and line up, you know, what are the significant areas she needs to worry about. And then this little card here is an update card. I mean, this is one of those genius things. And you can see it's just a 3x5 by the scale of my pencil. This clips over the top of it. So when you have a new update, like let's say the building now collapsed. It wasn't just on fire, but it's a full collapse. And you have more injuries. They just put the updated information and clip it over the top. And when everything is done, they take any and all updates and staple it together, and that's what they file. So it's not quite what we might adapt because we're not always doing, you know, in matching needs, you know, that's not really kind of where we are. That's where we've tried to figure out do that on a form without extra pieces of paper. But it was very interesting watching them do that. I was super encouraged by that, the information that the EOC would get from the ACS team, so hubs to EOC, pass to the fire department, and they pass it back out to the battalion, and that's where the ACS injects would have gone. And if they were passing them that day to Battalion 7, I would have heard them, but because they were practicing in, I think it was Battalion 4 that day with the injects, I didn't actually hear anything that would have been generated out of the EOC that I knew was an ACS message. But it was really good to see that that information we send in will be sent back out to the battalions and treated in an effective manner. So we'll deep dive this more because there's a whole bunch of questions I had and I don't have the answers yet. And Cody, who was my liaison person at the station, is going to send me the PowerPoint that they used for briefing the fire crews. So I'm going to close the document unless there's any questions. Okay, closing, but does anybody have any questions just in general? I was just thrilled. Okay. So can I see thumbs up if you think that's worth a deep dive? Okay, getting some head nods. Okay, good. I was going, I need to do it before it falls out of my brain. So that's another reason.
Cindy?
Let me say one thing. One of the things I have been with us so much now, and part of it is that they've got new command staff, and that just happened at the beginning of this year. So all of a sudden there's been this great kind of jump forward in. Dave?
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize that the fire department, we're still just on the initial phases of incorporating what the volunteers have to offer the fire department beyond any standard citizen source of information. So it's very early in the planning process. Obviously, the way they work is going to be very, very important. But just so that you know, is we don't really have a firm plan exactly how this will work. And if we were to have an earthquake in the next 10 minutes, we'll probably be making it up before tomorrow.
I agree, but they said this is, and they had tested some other things. We'll do that in the deep dive, but this is basically the same way they've tested about 3 years in a row. And so just that now we know how their cycle works and what they're looking for very specifically, like that card. That is stuff that we can help train ourselves with on passing the right kind of priorities and the right kind of information like that. All right, give me a second while I close.
And one last thing that I would say, Cindy, is that seeing how they build this process, because the injects that we had were actually created by the fire department. It wasn't something we invented. But obviously, the more precise information that you can provide for each of those 4 elements helps them, first of all, to determine where the issue fits in their priorities. But if it's a priority, this is the way to make sure it's a priority.
Yep. Yeah, they actually, one of their after action call outs was somebody gave us a wrong address. And I was like, woo, you guys know your territory pretty dang well, which they do. All right, the next thing I'm going to share is just very briefly, on the agenda, I just wanted to mention, okay, hang on. Can't click and talk at the same time, apparently. We sent out the final product of the Seattle Public Utilities. And on the 5th page, I just wanted to make sure you guys saw this and understand why that was in there. So the first 4 pages are documenting all the discussions we've had with Chad and him going back to his department and confirming the stuff that we put in there and is accurate to the best of our knowledge as of today. And this graphic is something we got from Alabama. A guy worked with us from Alabama, and I'm trying to move it on the screen, but I'm not having luck. There we go. What it originally was a poster, and on the top half of the poster, it had, your neighborhood will see debris collection between the hours of this and this on this day, and it had blanks to write in. Well, we cut that off because you can make that up on your whiteboard. But what is important, and we may end up laminating these for everybody, is this is the debris clearing instructions. People can take a picture at the hub and go back and make sure their neighbors are stacking stuff up so that it truly does get picked up. Because if stuff is not sorted in the way that SPU is required to pick it up to apply for FEMA funding, it will get left and people won't understand why, so you can't have stuff intermingled. So that is in what Ann just sent out and said, hey, this is the appendix that we've been talking about, which will be the permission to go in your hub books. Please print it out and slide it in. And she gave you a new table of contents and the location it goes into. So any questions on that? We'll get around to laminating them and getting like an 11 by 17 format for you to put in your hub boxes. But that we just wanted to get the Hub Captain book stuff out first.
So this is Gabrielle. That sounds like the kind of thing that if you had some version of it, even if not a big colorful version, you could hand your neighbors if they're like, I need to do something, giving that to people who could walk around and share with other people. That seems like something really good to be able to hand to your community.
That's a great idea. Yep.
Yeah. I'm sure you'd already thought of that.
No, had not. Mostly we're focused on getting it in the book. All right, so the next topic we have is Hub in the Box grants. This has been quite the interesting year. After bugging them and bugging them and bugging them and getting some false starts, I woke up one day and somebody said, hey, you didn't tell us that the Hub in the Grants had opened up. And I went, because nobody told me. So the city kind of did some last minute changes and has put it out onto the neighborhood front porch. That's the link I sent you, and opened the cycle with a deadline of October 12th. So as Ann and I go through the application, we're helping some of the hubs, who are on tonight, who are saying, we want to qualify somehow for a box. We're finding some little tweaks and need questions answered. So Ann's sent about 3 or 4 questions in. If anybody is interested in applying for a Hub in a Box, or you talk to someone who says they are, make sure to talk to Ann or me so we can get any updated questions that come in. Because it just looks like there's sometimes cut and paste errors. You have contradictory information and they forgot to delete a sentence or something. But it's fabulous that it's open. We're hoping it's really, really turn the crank. Apply, have your core group, get ready for a grand opening and engagement, and you'll get these supplies and not a lot of variability. So hopefully it'll go so smooth that the city will, not be hesitant to do it again. They just have had incredibly overworked people who are in key positions that we need to work with because of the COVID responses, the protests, the impacts in the parks have really affected a lot of people's work. So is there anybody on who is interested in one of these that I haven't actually talked to yet? Yep, I think everybody's good. Okay. Ann couldn't be on tonight. It's her hubby's birthday, so let's honor that. So she sent out a little summary of what was in the Neighborhood Matching Fund grant that we applied for. And that was to help move forward our new brochure and get it into multiple languages. And we included in it five of the hubs that we knew were wanting to get a box, but because we were not sure what was happening with the Hub in a Box cycle, we put them into that grant, and we're just kind of have to play it by ear. Hopefully they'll get picked in one of those 2 cycles. But that's where a lot of the money goes to. So she sent that summary just so curious. The other thing I wanted to point out is we're going to do 3 videos, and we're going to have some of those translated into different languages too. So finally, we can get the word of what the hubs are and what they do out to communities where we might be doing outreach, or it just may take off on its own on the YouTube channel. So that's an asset. Anything on that? I'm not seeing the screen anymore, right?
This is Gabrielle. Did you say that grant has already gone in? You've already submitted it?
The deadline was September 15th.
No, for the matching grant. Okay, so you did submit. Thank you.
Okay, next up is the GoFundMe, and Margaret is going to give a
Hi, everybody. Anne sent a summary of where we are. the goal ended up being 5,500. I'm not sure how it got to 55. I wasn't involved in that, but I'm sure it helped to cover the fees. The actual amount donated on the fund GoFundMe was $62.98. So we exceeded it. The net after their fees is $61.05. There were 83 donors, and the average donation was $76. So it was a very successful adventure. That was as of September 21st. I don't know that anything has come in. I didn't check it today, but Ann and I and Cindy have been talking about when to close it down. And my only thought was, if you sent a link to me at this point, I would see the amount, I would see the goal, and I would say, why are you asking me? So I'm sort of the school of, let's stop this one. And if we see other needs, including some of the translation or interpreting that Cindy was talking about, I think it's worthwhile doing another one for that specifically. But I appreciate the thinking and energy that subgroup had.
Hi.
It was a good group.
Yep. Sorry, Margaret.
That's okay. That's it.
So are we just going to close it down maybe September 30th then?
Yeah, that seems to make sense. Yeah, that's an amazing, I mean, really, it's just sort of an amazing thing. And thanks to Hugh, I don't know if he's drained it yet or not.
Yeah, I can give you a quick little update. Money is still dribbling in. So the total I got gross before fees was $6,348. And by the time all the fees, my quick back of the envelope calculation is we've got $6,030 net to the hubs that's there to use. So
That's
there you go.
So Cindy, you're off the hook.
yeah, yay. I'll line up the bills as they start coming in. So I think we're paid until, next one won't come in until May of next year. So I tell you, boy, if we hadn't paid for Zoom, there would be a whole lot of community groups who would not be meeting now because of us. So we're all paying our karma forward on this one, let me tell you. Hugh, maybe what we should do is, maybe if it goes a week without any contributions, then we close it down after that. Are they dribbling in still recently?
Yeah, I just checked before I came onto the meeting, and there's still $48 and change in the process of coming to the account. So, which I calculate as $50 in contributions were made before we last totaled things up. So, yeah, we could just get with Ann and figure out how to close it down, but we net after fees beat the goal by $500 or more. So real good.
That's fantastic. Okay, thank you. And I know many of you hub captains contributed personally, so thank you all for supporting in that way too. You've already helped with the poster printing, and this too. It's above and beyond given how much time you all put into this, so thank you.
It really was great to see so much support from the hub captains.
Next on the agenda then is Gabrielle, who has had a project that uses two of the hats she wears. So she's going to talk about low power FM station public service announcements.
Yeah, this was two of the hats, and I know this is something that Cindy had talked about long ago when I first got involved with hubs, that she wanted to do this, and I'm involved with a low power FM radio in Magnuson Park. And so Ann did a first draft of some public service announcements. There was one on September as emergency preparedness, one on how to use bleach, one on how to sign up for Alert Seattle, and a couple of others. And we went back and forth on the language a couple times, tried to get it really tight. We're trying to get them between 30 and 45 seconds. and still convey really solid information. And I got our radio people to record them. They actually made 2 versions, which I didn't know. One that references our radio station, which goes by space, and then a generic version that any other low power FM radio station could use. And I sent out an email, and I've had 2 other low power FM radio stations in the area, Rainier Valley and Tacoma, ask me for copies of them. A couple of them are a little Seattle specific, like the Seattle alert system. But we're glad we were able to do that. And Ann and I would really like to make a pool of these. And like our radio director says, these are the kinds of things that we could have on very low level circulation, but for long periods of time. So we could always have a few PSAs in our mix of our 24-hour programming. And so we'd like to make a pool. We thought maybe there'd be different times in the year that we could swap those out. There could be winter ones and earthquake ones and some other kinds of ones we could mix in and out. And also that we could think about ways to get some in different languages for a couple of the LPFMs that have much more diverse listening audiences. So it was fun. Yeah, it was fun to wear 2 hats and go back and forth between the 2. Yeah.
Very cool.
So if anybody wants more information, let me know and I can send you some links to listen to them.
And the one thing I wanted to get your minds thinking of is Anne just happens to be writing them because she does a lot of training. If any of you have a particular topic that you think would be a great PSA, either write it yourself or send them. They'll be glad to help edit it down. The ones I've listened to the first 3, I think, were really well written, really crisp. And then,
oh,
go ahead.
I was going to add one more thing. So we do have some restrictions, but we can do with enough warning announcements and public service announcements for all different kinds of things. Like if we had a hub day, we could do for that, other kinds of things. So if people have other ideas for things we could run or announcements for events, usually we try to give free announcements for free events, not for something where you might make money off it. So we'd be open to that too, and I could hook you in with some of the other low power FM stations in Seattle if you weren't familiar with them. Sorry.
I really think ACS would do well to write a PSA about the auxiliary communication service. So hint, David, and whoever's your
great.
Yeah. In the discussion, she mentioned about how we have referenced Alert Seattle. That's one of the things Matt Offlick asked me to pass on to you, that they are rolling out the Alert Seattle new function, which is you can sign up for Alert Seattle through SMS, text to a number, blah, blah, blah. So the materials for that is just coming off the printer and they're getting ready to distribute it. So I, said, of course, we would love to have some, because someday we'll be back to doing in-person events, but at least so that you've got them and you can drop them off, wherever you might want to do anything when we get to start doing some outreach stuff again. So just heads up that you'll start seeing messaging about that. Any other questions for Gabrielle? Okay, I'm going to share the screen of my last thing. So the next topic on the agenda, is around, we've had some light discussion about how do you run a hub during COVID. And I realize that I'm not going to go into full picture mode because when I do that, things go crazy on my computer. So I have been starting to pay attention and collect things that could help us. But I'm truly asking for some people who want to work on this topic so that we can, just like we did with the Seattle Public Utilities, have a addendum that we can put in our box that says something more than keep 6 feet apart and wear masks if you're running a hub during a pandemic. And so one of the things I sat in on was a mass care sheltering workshop where some of the people who run shelters for wildfire, for hurricanes, have been actually having to do that. And so giving the information that we can probably adapt. And most of it all focused on, queuing and wearing masks and getting people to stay safe. This is, I had the forethought, they never sent out the presentation, but I happened to take a picture of the screen just because this was their diagram of how they had things set up in the shelters. And they have all their queues. What they've done is to mark the 6-foot intervals, they used cones. And I've been to events where they, put a piece of paper in the ground and they stab it with one of those like chemical spray flags. And within, 2 people, it's been stomped on and moved. So cones worked okay, but they said people were moving them. But they did have marked exit lanes. They actually used rope to denote, don't, go this way so that you're not getting too near people who are doing other things. And they were pushing people into the, not pushing people, but they were admitting people into the shelter if they were passing the COVID screening. And if they had symptoms or they had possible exposure, they were sending them to an isolation area. And in other places, they were letting them into the real shelter. So they had a problem where they had to shelter people no matter what their condition was. And then if people were just coming in for questions, then they had an exit lane that took you away from the shelter. So that was just one observation about the cone as an idea. And then Ron and I, for his birthday, went to the Tacoma Zoo. And the first exhibit we went into where you had to go inside, we were on a little forest path and it was, 4 feet wide, and they had paw prints painted on the pathway. And everybody, without exception, stood on those paw prints. It was just like, wow, look at all these conforming people. However, then we got to another one where the paw prints, for whatever reason, you could see it all the way over here. There's a little girl looking at it going, what's that thing? The paw prints got put out where people couldn't see them, and you ended up with this little disaster, which was like, you'd never know there was a pandemic going on other than there's face masks on, which at least everybody had a face mask. And then this was another line that I decided not to stand in because this was the line to get in IKEA on just a day I thought, oh, I'm going to go to IKEA when it opens because, I just got to run in and run out. They were squished up. Oh, in fact, I did stand in line for a little while. And when people actually came up and stood next to me, because there was no markings because, the line went all the way up. You can see it go all the way up there and come back. People just got in line and shuffled like cows, and they just, went back to normal behaviors. So we need people who can put some thought into what are the guidance we can give you to each hub so that if you have to slam up a hub in the middle of a pandemic, what can you do to be safe? And it comes back to some of these other best practices of, do we take temperatures? Do we say you can't stand in line if you don't have a mask? What signals can we use to say they've already been through, they're just waiting? How will we space our volunteers who are sitting around? So I've done a little preliminary, because my eyes are, just seeing different things. When you're aware of something, you pay attention. And I really am going to ask this time for volunteers. Last time I didn't get anybody to raise their hand. And, these things advance only by the work of all the smart people who can come to the table and put help into it. So would you put your name in the chat if you'd like to volunteer sometime before the end of the session? And then I'll collect those afterwards. And the way that Jack and Ann and I work the SPU, small committee is fine. And we just did a lot of email, and that's a nice way to do it. Jack provided a very helpful back check on a lot of the stuff we were doing. It was good to have those second eyes. So thanks, Gabrielle. Okay, the next thing, oh God, I keep talking, man. So the next thing is a quick update, a positive update on the Good Samaritan law. I actually have now been interviewed by council, Washington State Legislative Body Council, to tell them what the legal descriptions and objectives of a change to the Good Samaritan law would be, so that it is allowing people to do non-medical Good Samaritan work and be covered by the general liability. So there was going to be a special session, they thought, this fall, but money seems to be flowing where they didn't need to call it. So the next session of legislature will start in January. And as far as I can tell, our request to expand the Good Samaritan law is still moving forward. And I don't know if I said last time, I've heard from several organizations like the Snohomish Emergency Management, the John Sue, who's with the architects. They've all said that they would send lobbyists to help promote this bill. So good news on that. And I haven't even talked to Seattle to see if they have, just because I don't want to bother anybody actually until it happens. But when I mention it to someone, they're like, oh yeah, please do. And the next thing on the agenda is that we're moving the map update. Now that we're trying to pin down some key patches that might have to come off the map because of their proximity to power lines. And to get people to go out in the field and review that has taken a long time because of the COVID and protest demands. So then when Hub in a Box launched, we went, well, we might as well wait until that cycle's over. And so we see who the hubs are that come out of that. So our next map update will be January 2021. And then I'll be distributing to you all new large sets of maps for your hub box and any of the outreach events that you do. And the last thing, oh, rats. No, I got 2 more to go. Okay. The Camping Hacks 2 is now in the Google Drive. There was, after, I forget which month meeting, we said, here's the final version. And we got a couple of, one more last week. So Katie was gracious enough to incorporate those, but we're putting a bow on it. It's done. It's in the Google Drive. And Anne had put in some money to print those in the grant. So hopefully we can do that. Oh, Kayla says she's working on rewriting rent and sheltering plan, and maybe some overlap on COVID. So that's great. So I just wanted to thank Katie. I think I saw her on. Yep. And that was, it was just some of that creative work that we have to do every once in a while to keep our outreach material fresh. Thank you, Katie.
Happy to help.
Okay. And the very last thing I have is I put the link in the agenda for those of you who, there is no business right now who's thinking of doing emergency planning. They are trying to survive today. But there has been an update now to the toolkit that's available across the nation. Ann and I have interviewed the woman who wrote it twice now, just trying to find out what are tricks to help get businesses to engage. And I also was on a teleconference 2 days ago where Mayor Durkin was speaking with some community leaders, and I was invited. So I asked Mayor Durkin to make sure that when we come out of COVID and businesses, have a time to pant and recover, that we help them get prepared for the next disaster. We've all heard the stories of people who didn't even know who their banker was because they just didn't have to know, and then they had problems getting the grants and loans. So we're trying to make sure that the businesses can survive a second round. God forbid it's an earthquake, but they're not ready. So that is all I have to say. So that's good because I'm yelling at the microphone. And so hopefully we can go into around the room. So I promised the South people I would start in the South this time. So anybody in the Southeast sector, just, come on and introduce yourself and let us know. And this time I'd like everybody to introduce themselves, and it's just fine if you say, I have nothing, but, so that we all remember who we are, okay? So Southeast sector, come now.
I think that's me. Southeast sector, Judkins Park. We're getting ready to order some things and just being patient with the city while they get through all of their emergencies. And that's kind of where we're at.
Ann. All right, I'm going to pick on people. Susan Sanders.
Okay, here I am. We are the same. I mean, we put our notebook together and we're continually, I'm sending out information, most recently about the smoke and, just trying to keep people in the loop.
That's good enough. I mean, it's just, we're glad everybody's on. You know, it's nice to see each other's faces again.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, my face isn't there, but I'm here. Okay.
Well, I know that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
See your fancy name on the title. All right,
Okay.
Southwest sector. I'll go ahead and start. We have a new hub captain in the Salvation Army, and he is thrilled about the hub concept. He comes from, I believe, New Mexico. They moved their building staff around a lot, and so I briefed him on hub captains, and he's, you know, give me my books. I'm ready to learn more, and I'll open my kitchen anytime you need it. So I foresee when we can get back together again, a grand opening where we can use their kitchen. And then nothing else for any of the other hubs that aren't on. I see Howie and Dolores. Yeah. Oh, Howie and Anna. So
Hey guys, hi team.
Hey. We're at Peace
Peace
Lutheran in West Seattle, and I joined the ACS. Yay.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just taking in, and we got the books together and all. So that's really cool. Excited. We should have those at the library. Oh, yeah. I was just saying, like, it was really cool putting the books together. And then those things should be at the libraries.
That is an interesting thought. I will talk to Ann about that.
And also when we get back to normalize.
Johnny and Kayla. There was someone else from Southwest. So Johnny, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, Johnny Schmidt from High Point. Just doing the footwork to try to get our Hub in a Box application through. That's what I'm looking at. Other than that, that's my main focus.
Okay, good enough. And Keela, and then there's Dolores too.
We've been working, on our Hub in the Box before it was opened by Department of Neighborhoods, maybe under the other grant. So we put a bunch of work into that, and then I've just been trying to stay connected with our neighborhood through Facebook and posting various health alerts and articles and whatnot. So that's about it. Nothing too exciting.
It's okay, keeping the spirit up. And Dolores, I have to tell you that your school, the Hope Lutheran School, burned up in the exercise the other day.
What was that?
Your school was one on the windshield survey. It was collapsed and on fire.
Oh no! Oh boy. Well, but that shows that we are they're aware of us. It's Hope Lutheran there. Yeah, we actually have kids now going to school. They kind of have a mixed hybrid of some kids are homeschooled a whole lot. I mean, the whole thing. Some kids come in and then some kids do a little of both. So they've got, because it's a smaller organization, they've got that flexibility. So yes, we haven't done anything different with our hub, but we're always, because of the school, they do a lot in terms of preparedness, and we almost had as COVID was about to disassemble everything, we were planning a disaster group of volunteers. We were on the cusp of having what I have been dreaming of, is to formalize it. I'm not sure, Howie, and you've got a team in your church probably that are volunteers that are part of your, so I'm aspiring to that, but it kind of got everything put on hold. But they're very aware of the box and the potential. So it's still very much alive and very important. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned that the pastor's high school son now is a ham radio operator.
Oh.
Yeah. So there's even in his little family there motivation.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Anybody that I missed from Southwest? All right, we'll go to Central Core, which I know Steve and Margaret are in there.
We have this man for kids.
I can go. I'm Margaret Sanders, East Lake. We have not met, but I'm keeping in touch with them. I send materials out. I'm probably going to send the minutes of this meeting because of the information about the fire. But I also am trying to decide if it's better for them to know about the deep dive, or is this sufficient?
Okay. Steve. Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that. I was trying to use the space bar. Didn't work. Steve Hall from Belltown. We haven't had much going on, kind of in the fog of COVID here. But I did order some long-term water storage boxes that I'm going to test out. And so I can report back. I'm going to fill some up and just make sure they don't leak and everything. But I got a 50-gallon set. That was 10 boxes that are 5 gallons each for $130. So after hearing about how we're going to be out of water, that seems like something everyone should consider. So I could share a link. I don't know if I'll share a link of what I ordered in the comments.
If you can put it in the comments, go ahead, because I'll send the chat to go into the minutes, or
Okay.
if you don't find it in time, just send it directly to Gabrielle.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's the only two in Central Core.
Central West.
Oh, well, Central, I'm just going to double check. There's no one in Central East, right? Yep, you're next, Bill. Central West.
Okay, Bill Fay from Queen Anne. Actually, I'm pretty much representing all of Central West. That's Magnolia, Inner Bay, and Queen Anne. We call ourselves the Mi'kmaq Hubs. And we actually have a website, mi'kmaqhubs.org, but it seems to have stopped working. We don't know whether Franz put it together. He doesn't know whether it got hacked or whether just the whole connection thing and the platform thing fell down. So it's not working right now. So we'll get that going again because it was quite successful, an improvement over what we had before. Other than that, the hubs are basically inching forward on getting their boxes supplied and stacked and everything else. We got our folders all put together and everything else, and we'll get those in place pretty soon. And other than that, just the Central West hams are doing quite a bit of working together and getting things better communicated and setting up communication channels amongst the hub sites or the sector sites, depending on what we can find. So we can be better communicate within the sector. Thus, hub to hub is going to improve on that. And that's about it.
Okay, no, that was great. It helps that you guys continue to meet monthly kind of in a virtual environment. That's kept a lot of momentum for you. Then we'll move up to Northwest. So the 5 people I see there are Kristen, Dale, Jack and Jim, and Hugh. So Kristen?
Hi, can you hear us?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, but you're going to
Yes.
bandwidth problem
Yes,
I do.
no?
Come and go.
Okay, so we've maintained, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, okay, hi, we're here. That's it.
Kristen? Kristen? Okay, I guess she really meant we're here and that's all we had. I was like, I thought she was answering the door and hanging up or something. Dale?
Nothing really new to report from Broadview, so I'll let any other Northwest hubs.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, Kristen, you're back on again? Nope, you're back off. Now she's on mute again. All right, thank you, Dale. Jack and Jim from...
We have a kid. No, if you, there's.
Jack, why don't you, Jack and Jim, why don't you guys come on and I'll just, she's not on mute and I'll just kind of keep watching it.
Jim, why don't you fill in on David's thing?
David's thing?
Yeah, updating the Facebook page.
Oh, yeah. David Baum got interested in adding more. He had some information about the smoke, basically. And he put that on the Finney Hub page.
Cool.
And then I still need to incorporate Ann's latest additions to the notebook.
Just get off.
You know, I think, and anything else from you guys? I'm just thinking, for some reason, I thought I saw Kristen on there twice, but now she's only on there once. Okay, Hugh, you're up next. Oh, you're on mute.
Now.
Now.
Hub-wise, yeah, I really haven't been doing anything up here. And, you know, we've just been cooped up in the house for a week solid while the smoke blew away. So recirculating the same air through electronic air cleaners. Real boring.
Hey, so I have to ask, Bill Fay, you at the last meeting I saw you at, you whipped out one of those box fans with the filters. Did it really collect the particles?
Well, yeah, the using the 20-inch by 20-inch furnace filter on the back of a box fan, it seemed to work. Just blowing air around the living room seemed to help clear things up.
Wow, cool. That's good to hear somebody actually tried it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked for us in the house with the whole system on the electronic air filter. And we used the box fan trick out in the guest house, which is one room, and it worked great. You could tell the difference walking from outside into the building. And yeah.
Yeah, it really made me want to put in an air conditioner too, because when you close everything up and I've got west-facing windows, I was cooking. So anybody else from Northwest? Kristen, if you can hear us and you actually have any report, because we do tend to have problems hearing you, you can type them into the chat. That's another way we can sort of learn if you've got anything going on. So Northeast, I see Sandy, Gabrielle, and Patty.
I'll go first. This is Gabrielle. We haven't done very much. I was just texting with Patty. I also put together my notebooks. I think they're so great. I'm so glad to have those as a resource. One thing I didn't share, which Cindy does know about, is my box got stolen in the spring during the COVID quiet, the first few weeks there, sometime maybe the first 6 weeks. It got stolen from a location at a parking lot. It wasn't cemented down, and the whole thing just disappeared. So I'll just put that out there. I hope the rest of you have a way that your boxes are secured. So I'm getting to be a regular with the police department. So we have a plan going forward, and the site's been good. I haven't followed up with them yet, Cindy, but I'm going to. So, okay, great.
Okay. Sandy.
Well, we have been relatively quiet, but Susanna and I decided that it was time to organize everybody for a Zoom meeting. So I think that we'll do that sometime this fall. I don't know whether it'll be, likely it will be in October, because our November meeting time is too close to Thanksgiving to be practical. So we'll try that. I know that Anne has still been very busy distributing masks that she had gotten from the grant. So we've had recurring requests actually from Hunger Intervention Program, which is a program out here that does a lot of the kids' lunches and the meals on weekends and whatever. And they've been putting a cloth mask in those meal packages, which has been really helpful. We have a very large shipping container, so we don't have the same problems that others might have with somebody just carting it off. But, you know, we did have it moved from the southeast corner of the Fred Meyer parking lot to the southwest corner. And because it was so close to Lake City Way, parts of it have been tagged. So we had a Lake City team that was going to come and paint it for us, and then COVID hit. So we're still tagged, but we'll deal with it when we can get the paint from the city from their projects. So I think that's all I have.
Okay. Patty?
Yeah, so yeah, doing well and waiting for the next disaster. Did okay with all the smoke and just in suspense for, you know, what's the next thing that we have to react to. I signed up for some committee with Gabrielle and Ann, and I read the email when it came in, and I'm not quite sure what I signed up for, but we're all going to work on that together, and I'm sure it'll all go well.
Tell people what hub you're with.
Oh, I'm with Sandpoint, Windermere, etc. Yeah, yeah.
Good.
So just happy to have fresh air.
Yeah, no lie.
Yeah.
Anybody I missed in Northeast?
I joined late.
Hi, Matt.
Yeah, so we got some funding from the Ravenna Brant Community Association to replace some of equipment in our hub. So we've ordered a new pop-up canopy, new office supply kits, and a couple of odds and ends like vests and whistles. So we're on the way to having a full set of gear, I think.
Cool. Okay, I thought of one hub that isn't on tonight. Homer Harris has continued to work on their website where they're doing the mutual support network, and they continue to support, Sandy mentioning the feeding programs, they continue to support helping deliver lunches. Not so much since school started, so I was really curious to find out what kind of requests are still coming in. We're kind of waiting for the cliff to drop out when the eviction moratorium stops and a lot of bills come due. We're probably going to see a second wave of needs come through. So it'll be interesting to see how those mutual aid networks work on that. I have two people, not really hub location oriented. Bill, Wilma, did you have anything else you wanted to report for ACS? And then Katie, if you had anything, you might want to just introduce yourself after Bill. That was Katie. Katie's last name I screw up every time. These are odd. So Bill, is Bill on still? Bill looks gone. People move around, and so I have to go hunt around. Where's that phone number? All right, Katie, you want to introduce yourself at all?
Bill's there.
I'm here now.
No, Bill Wilma.
Dave Wilma?
Dave Wilma. Oh God. Yeah, well, he's gone.
Yeah.
Can't find his phone number on the screens anymore. So Katie.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Idzorek. Don't ever worry about trying to say my name. Just call me Katie I, or Katie's fine. I am currently a PhD student at the University of Washington. I study community disaster preparedness. This is a very interesting time for all of us. So I've been trying to keep up with the emails and haven't been to a lot of meetings, but I've been trying to stay involved with the group. I had been doing some survey work about earthquake preparedness before COVID, and then which is kind of the bulk of my dissertation research. So I will not spend a lot of time talking about that, but that's what I'm working on now, is analyzing that. And I also have a background in design, and so I like to help out with some graphic design stuff when I can. So that's how I got plugged into the cards activity. So nice to see everyone and hear about the great work that's happening.
Thank you. And we are looking forward to reading your dissertation, even though you think it'll put us to sleep.
If someone reads it, I'll be happy. So that'd be great.
All right. Is there anybody I missed? All right, man, this was one of our faster meetings, but it was mostly because I didn't want to go into a lot of detail. And three last things. We didn't have a guest speaker because I am just learning, stay away from the city at this point. They are no matter what their department is, they're struggling because they're working from home and they're trying to do normal business. So transportation, I'm just going to move out, and Seattle Electric, as far as I know, Seattle City Light has not rehired their emergency manager yet. So they're kind of in limbo. So we're just going to push those into next year. We had said we were going to do a psychological first aid class in November timeframe, and that was before COVID. And then last time we talked about it, I said, well, there's some people who are trying to do it online, but they've condensed it down to an hour. So I am just gonna, I would like to see if I can get you guys to, give me input on, I think we should just wait and do this one in person. It just does not feel like a good topic to learn how to do psychological first aid for future disasters, when maybe people should have psychological first aid for the current disaster and get it from the American Red Cross and other people that are offering it. So if you think that we should continue to try and offer something virtually in the November, December timeframe, send me an email and convince me. But otherwise, I'm just going to put it off until we come back out of this and can have vaccines and do things more in person. Any comments on that right off the bat? I just the enthusiasm I have for organizing an event like that with no guarantee of a lot of interest is just okay, good. And the last thing is I want to put in a plug for those Monday night GMRS radio check-ins. We've done a lot of training and had a class that covered the use of that particular system. 50 people attended, and she's having programming classes. And we get exactly 3 of the same hub captains who call in every week. So it's an underutilized system. I got to believe there's 50 radios out there that might have massive, the batteries that have leaked because nobody's looked at them. Please try and at least maybe once a month get onto the night that your sector's repeater is being tested and check in. What I'm going to tell you, my secret suspicion, and Dave's not on to confirm or deny, but there are a bunch of people outside of Seattle, all around us, Carnation, Renton, Auburn, across the water, who have found the GRMS system, and they're excited because they can talk all over the Puget Sound. And I am really worried that they're not going to understand that that's our priority communication system during a disaster, and they're just going to use it for their personal use because they've been using it. But we let them use it because they're the only ones exercising the repeater. So it's sort of like possession is 9/10 of the law in some ways. And so worried about your radios, that they've lost power and lost their programming, and you're not going to be able to work them in a disaster. And your skills have gotten out of date, and the repeater is just seen as you say you're going to use it, but are you really? So please do try and participate, or get whoever you've assigned your radio to participate.
So you're saying we actually have people from outside Seattle that are hitting your repeaters?
Because we don't own the repeaters. You don't own airwaves. You repeater manager who can tell people what it's intended for, but we have no, jurisdictional authority to kick people off or jam up.
I just didn't know they were actually reaching in and using them.
What happens is Ron has registered those. You have to, as a courtesy, the way the ham radio, the way the ham communities work is you register the repeaters so everybody knows what's available in an area. They almost all 205, and then people who are interested in the hobby say, hey, I'd like to try that repeater, and they ask for permission to use it. And of course, Ron gives it because we want to make sure that we found out that our repeater here had gotten turned off, after about 3 days, and we found out what turned it off, vacuuming, unplugging the wrong thing. And so it was off the air for 3 days until he got a note from someone saying, hey, I was trying to test your channel 1 repeater and it's not on the air. So it was a good catch, but they ask for permission and we give it because we just need people testing those repeaters because the hub captains aren't.
Yeah, I'll try to get on and test. I should be able to reach one from my neighborhood, I think.
Yeah, Monday night is a good time, and you get used to talking, and you get used to cadences and all that stuff. So thank you.
Okay.
So Cindy, this is Gabrielle. I just put a note in the minutes, but I'll say it out loud. Maybe, like for someone who's never done that, wouldn't know where to start, maybe we can put that information in the minutes, and then if people want it, they could look for it there. Just as a reminder, the when and the where. I don't know that I've really seen that or ever seen it in a way that it registered with me. I mean, I know you've talked about it, but the information about how to do it, but I added that to the minutes. So if you put it there, then if other people on the call are interested, they could look for it there.
So I'll tell everybody, it's in the hub calendar. Every Monday night is the standard, it's the same message for every week, so that you can always go, what we're on the third Monday, what night, you know. So it's always in the hub calendar, and I tell you, I have to personally enter those. So there's 52 entries in there that I put in every year because I have to do it one at a time. Okay, anybody else got any other things? Get out early, woohoo! All right, thank you everyone. And the deep dive is going to be for sure on the fire department. And then I see, thank you for all everybody who's volunteering to work on the COVID. We might have some initial things to discuss in that too. So it'll be a really good deep dive this week, this time. We'll do October's deep dive. And then we have a November hub captain meeting that's early because of Thanksgiving. So I don't think we're going to do a deep dive in November unless it's, you know, maybe we want to finish off something. So stay tuned in for the November announcement. Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a nice evening. Gabrielle, did you capture the chat?
I did not. I'll let you do that. And I should have asked before. Are we going to have an October meeting?
Let me turn off the recording.